Hooda, this is for you. I was your age when I joined politics. I fought 6 elections. I was idealistic. And yet, what did I find at the end of 6 terms? I wanted to change the education system. I wanted the police to be there when I wanted them. I wanted education cheap. What did I find today? That it's easier to get a pizza, faster to get a pizza, than to get the ambulance or the police to come to my home. I can get a car loan at 8%, but for my child's education, I've got to pay 12%. For my child to get a good job, she has to go to many IITs, MITs to get a job. And yet to run this country, you don't need a degree. You need a caste. Can you change all that? Can you change this caste system that is becoming like a cancer in our growth? I wish you all the luck, because I've tried it for 6 terms, 6 elections, and I have not succeeded. And I want an answer to that.
I guess I need to drink some water before I start answering. Thank you for your kindness. I think what you said and what I just spoke about, we are on the same page. We are exactly on the same page. I think as we stand at the cusp of a very important decade for us, a decade which promises to change the future of our country for us, for our next generation, I still believe in that ideal. We are already seeing that turned into a reality too. I think the divisive politics, the days of divisive politics in India have peaked. The days of mandals and kamandals, I think, have peaked. If you look at last few years, last few elections, you'll see the evidence of that more and more. More governments are getting voted back in power because of governance, not because of the caste or religion group that they claim to represent. More people are getting voted back to power. More representatives are getting back vote power. I can give you my own personal example. My first term, I contested, and I was elected based on, like I already said, I'm a product of the system. I got elected by a margin of about 2.25 lakh votes. The next 5 years, I tried to change the political debate in my constituency. I just talked about development. I just talked about progressive things. I did not talk about caste. I did not talk about anything else. I went back to people after 5 years. I asked them specifically to discount my surname and vote for me if they thought what I believed in is right. I won the second election by a margin of 4.5 lakh votes, which incidentally is one of the highest margins that anybody has gotten re-elected in this country. And I can tell you, sir, I got elected from the areas in my constituency where there was nobody, not even one voter from my caste. I got elected by almost the same margin that my own caste people elected me. And I'm proud of that. And I want to live by that hope. I think it's very easy for us to slip into cynicism, but I would hope, and I would urge you to hope as well.
Mr. Hooda, my question is to you again, because the questions on politics are always far more exciting and end up bringing a lot more controversy. Yesterday we had 3 politicians from different parties. Most of them tended to agree with each other. Today we have you talking about the fact that you stand for growth, performance, and your party stands for performance and growth. So is there any difference between your party and the party of Mr. Narendra Modi? Because he stands for performance and growth as well.
There is fundamental difference. And I think if you think that he only stands for growth and progress and he stands for that alone, I think your perspective is wrong. And it's not wrong, but it's different from my perspective. The way I see it, he represents everything that has gone wrong in the politics of our country. there are a lot of people who can deliver, in my opinion, that's my perspective, and you're entitled to have your own, who can deliver better, at least equal to what he's delivering, without actually standing for those wrongs too. That's my opinion, which may be politically biased.
I have a question for Asin. You mentioned about the visibility factor in your pulsating presentation. Don't you think you're making the same mistake what Gracie Singh and Amrita Rao made by being too choosy after a super hit?
Well, I've always been choosy about my films, whether be it the films that I've done down south or be it the films that I'm doing right now. And as you said, there's a lot of pressure for me to take up, like I said in my speech, but I did not say it directly. You should ask him that. There's a lot of peer pressure to sign up movies, but as I said, I think one should stand for what one believes in and do the projects that one wants to be a part of. So that's what I'm waiting for, and that's what I believe in. So I've always done that, and it's not a new decision, it's not a new move. I think that works for me. I'm comfortable doing that. I don't really compare myself with the careers of other actresses. Yes, that is one of the fallouts that can happen if you don't take up movies and if you want to follow your ideals and principles. Otherwise, you can take up any work that comes your way.
I have a question for Ranbir, since he said that idealism has now married reality. Ranbir, reality is that the Shiv Sena and the MNS are big bullies. Idealism is that Bollywood should stand up as one and denounce what they did with Shah Rukh Khan and My Name is Khan. Reality is that a lot of you did not take a stance and utter a single word in support of Shah Rukh Khan or denouncing what the Shiv Sena and the MNS were doing.
Well, I think I'll probably need a drink before this answer. No, I'm just joking. Well, I disagree. I don't think you need any vocalization of support when you support someone. Whatever happened during the release of My Name is Khan, I wasn't present in the country, so I completely missed what was going on. But I did face a similar situation when I had a movie out called Wake Up Sid releasing. We used the word Bombay in the film a lot, and so the MNS party did oppose to that and said that we should use the word Mumbai. But this is fiction. This is a part of somebody's vision. I so many times don't say Mumbai and I say Bombay because it is a part of my growing up. I've grown up with the word Bombay. I'm not trying to hurt somebody's sentiment. I'm not trying to hurt somebody's mindset about how a word is supposed to be said. Yes, it is bullying. It is something which has to stop. It is something that I don't know how it can be stopped. There is a lot of power involved in it. I'm too small a person to stand up against such a big power.
But Ranbir, that's the point. If everyone thinks he's too small, you spoke so passionately about idealism being reality.
No,
but if everyone, and you're saying that it's all fiction, but if everyone doesn't stand up for what he believes in My Name is Khan, we saw what happened.
Well, I think they did
Producer,
stand up. I
director
don't think Mr. Shah Rukh Khan bogged down, and I don't think Mr. Shah Rukh Khan apologized to anybody. I think he was absolutely right what he did. He wasn't wrong in his belief. I'm not saying that Mr. Raj Thackeray was wrong or the MNS was wrong, but I think everyone...
You don't think what they did was wrong?
But I'm not saying it. Like I said, you know, what they said must...
No, so why don't you say it? You spoke so passionately.
No, like I
about
said,
idealism.
I really don't know how it really progressed then because I wasn't in the country. So I don't know what his point of contradiction was. But whatever said and done, I don't think Mr. Shah Rukh Khan bogged down to that, and I think that's how it's going to be.
Okay, so let me put a simple question to you. If you were in a similar situation, Ranbir Kapoor, would you stand up to Raj Thackeray and say what you're doing is incorrect? That's idealism versus reality.
Well, absolutely, I think I would. I would like to believe that I would.
This is open to the panel. You all spoke about young people having energy and young people having a voice. But my question is, yes, we have a voice, but is there anybody to listen? Yes, we have energy, but is there a platform to effectively channelize it?
I spoke about Indian Youth Congress, and I can speak about my party. I think, like I said, Rahul Gandhi ji has identified this as one of the biggest systematic changes that we want to bring in Indian politics in the next 10 years. And what we have done, what we are trying to do, is to throw the doors of Indian Youth Congress open to everybody and give everybody equal opportunity to come participate in building of this nation. I think it's a big challenge ahead of us, but at the same time, what I've seen in Mumbai, like I said, I had the opportunity to get associated with this process in Mumbai when we called out for an open membership. And following that, we are going to have elections. what we saw was amazing. Young men and women from different walks of life just walked in and became members. And they wanted to do something, they wanted to be heard, they want to themselves be the change, bring in the change. And I think that's the new breed of leadership that we'll see emerging in our country to that process. So my take to you is the platform is the Youth Congress, and come join us. And we guarantee you would not be discriminated against because you're not, like he said, a Scindia or a Pilot or a Hooda. We will provide you equal opportunity. That's the ideal that we believe in.
What kind of a democracy it is? You see a politician about 10 years back, he was a pauper, living in a poor village, not even able to make both ends meet. After a decade or so, the man is worth several thousand crores, is caught, a technical case being registered or pursued which may take his life and not to be settled finally about disproportionate assets. And his wife also gets elected as an MLA. Do you call it democracy? And my second question is that can the office of governor and president, which also have been accused of being partisan in their attitude, as and when it comes to taking a call, because when you have a link, you have a political past, you are linked with a particular political party, you carry that ideology, you cannot afford to remain honest. It is natural. So
Mr. Verma, if you can come to the question.
Can a bill be passed where it can be said that no political person, that no person having any affiliation with any political party would be eligible for the governorship or the post of presidentship? Thank you.
Deepender has answered that question, but you can have another shot if you want.
You know, we all know where we are at. We all know the difficulties and the issues that we face in our system, politics, whatnot. I just want to just repeat I'm going to be repeating myself, but I just want to say that it's very important to have hope. It's very important to look at this as an opportunity. And we are making change. The change is already there. I mean, I don't think you can say the politics of India today is 5 years back, it was the same. I think we are already seeing change, and I'm hopeful, and I hope everybody here has some hope too.
Okay, I'm told that Adrian D'Souza has to leave. The final of the World Cup hockey is about to begin, and his entire team is waiting for him over there. But before you leave, Adrian, I have one question for you. Idealism is that all sports in this country should be equal. Reality is that cricket is far above the others. Do you feel sometimes that you made a big mistake by choosing hockey over cricket? And if you were showing the same skills on a cricket field, your career would have been very different.
Well, firstly, I don't think I've made a mistake that I've taken up hockey. I think I love this sport. And in my school, I never played cricket, only in the gullies. But the reality is that cricket is the running sport and the sport that everybody follows. I'm sure many of you all don't even know the 11 players of the Indian hockey team at the moment. But what I'd like to tell you is a certain example that happened 3 months ago, actually 1 month ago before the World Cup. That's idealism, what happened. For 1 year, our teammates, all our boys, we used to wonder and always think that why is it that we have been treated this way? We now wish to compete with cricket or any other sports. It's just about our lives because we have struggled to get to where we are, but we've now been appreciated. Probably we didn't win major tournaments like how, unfortunately, we didn't make it in the finals of the World Cup, which is happening in New Delhi. But then, one thing, my friend here was asking a question that how can we raise voices? And I'm not sure if anyone of you all know, but what happened in Pune, in Balewadi, is actually idealism turning into reality. We were a team of 11 and actually 20 of us who used to discuss this every day that, we need to stand up someday and fight against the system and raise our voices. And eventually it turned into reality where actually the media helped us. They came out there and we went on a strike for a day before the World Cup. 1 month before the World Cup, we went on a strike. Probably the timing was right. That is happening in New Delhi. But day by day, things happened. There was a change, and we could feel it. We never thought that what we would do next. We knew something that what we were fighting for was good enough, and we knew that we were right. And eventually, after 5 days of not training, we achieved our goal. So I believe if we have unity, and if we all want to achieve the same goal, I'm sure you can always turn idealism into reality. So that's my question.
Adrian, reality is this year at the World Cup final of hockey, you'll be watching from the sidelines. Idealism is next time when the Hockey World Cup happens, India wins the gold medal. And the torso rings that you have, you can do a sort of Ganguly moment of your own. And in that hope, we'll allow you to go. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
First of all, I've got to tell you, I was very impressed with all of you. Normally when we see a Bollywood star, we think, a bit of fluff, but it was very good. I seen you were very, 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 very impressive.
Thank you so much.
But for an economist. So like you, my parents left India many years ago to find economic prosperity, hope in America, and here I am back in their country, finding it here. It's kind of ironic. But looking ahead, ideally, this is a top 3 economy of the world in a few years. The reality is there are a whole lot of hurdles to get there. So tell me very quickly 2 things that are most important to change in the next 2 or 3 years to realize that ideal situation of top 3.
Yes, very good question. And I would say I have the similar situation where my parents are in the States and I'm here, so it's a funny thing that's happening right now. I think 10 years ago people droned on and on about the brain drain, and in the space of 3 years we have the first generation of kids that never even lived in India all of a sudden flooding back. You don't know how many questions I get of people who want to come back and want to contribute and just don't know how to do it. To your question about 2 things, I think in terms of looking at policy, very clearly, education, infrastructure. When I talk about demographics, and we did this. We basically said we have this huge young labor force, half the population under the age of 26, half the population under the age of 26, right? We're going to have this huge labor force, but this labor force actually isn't a huge part of it doesn't participate. When you actually look at if we kept our participation rates similar to what we have right now, by 2030 we're going to look more like a Japan than we are like, the country that's going to be thriving or that we see today. We're just going to be supporting so many people who just don't work. So I would say by far we have to skill, and it's not just about getting enrollment rates up, because we have schools built, we actually have infrastructure, but we have kids and no teachers, so we need teacher training by and large. And infrastructure, again, I think, in 2003, no one even talked about infrastructure. So when I think about the gains we've made in terms of government, think of how far we've come in 7 years, that we can have an open debate. It used to be something that only was talked about in hushed whispers behind closed doors. So at least we're talking about infrastructure. But I think, in terms of thinking about government and enablers, we've got to figure out this way of extracting the government from being involved in every sort of aspect of trying to take care of things and not doing it as well as probably people could do on their own, and really figuring out the basic job of governments, building roads, building schools, figuring out health systems, and letting the rest of us figure out, again, how to take the power and figuring out how to use those things most efficiently. Education and infrastructure.
Tanya, we just saw a 26-year-old from Facebook who told us how he made his first billion. When I saw him the first time, I thought, what's this kid doing at the conclave? It turned out he'd earned his first billion. But the fact is that most of the big businesses in India that are being run by young people are being run by them because of their legacy, the legacy that they inherit. What is it about the Indian business system that young people, like the gentleman we just saw, cannot rise the way they do? Is it that we don't have ideas, or is it because the system doesn't permit the growth of the sort that we just saw with Facebook?
I think,
Closer to the mic.
I think it's a valid point, Rahul. But I think, like Deepender has been stressing, things are changing. I think in the past, because of our economic structures and political stipulations, it was actually quite difficult to progress while maintaining your ideals. Taxing systems were very strenuous. Corruption was rampant. It still is, but I think there is a change in India itself today. You know, India is brighter. There's a lot of opportunity, and the way the economic situation has opened up has also led for opportunity of people other than family business who had structured themselves very efficiently over the years to work around the system. Now that's sort of no longer required. So that's why you see new youngsters coming up. Many of us are age-old family businesses which have sort of learned how to work with the system. We work in diversified setups. So I think to succeed 30 years ago as an individual was far more difficult than it is today. I think today there is a lot of opportunity to do so. There's a lot of opportunity to be idealistic. There's a lot of opportunity to grow with integrity. And I think because of the cleaning up slowly of the economic and political system, this is going to be increasingly facilitated.
I'll start very quickly with two facts. It takes 90 tons of the earth to get 1 carat diamond, just 1 carat. And MNCs which sell soft drinks ravage the earth of its natural resources and our country of precious drinking water. So what bothers me is the irony and the hypocrisy involved today when we talk about the youth, when we talk about icons who should be messengers of virtue for the youth. So how is it that people who are supposed to be messengers of good virtues are in commercials for diamonds, are in commercials of soft drinks, and how are the young entrepreneurs of the world still sitting on a margin of the wealth of this country when we know that the disparities in the economic sector are too bold to be ignored?
I endorse Pepsi because I'm an actor, I'm a commodity. I drink that. I don't force people to drink it. It is your choice. You have to pay your money and buy it. Yes, if you go to a restaurant and if you have a meal and if you feel like having a drink, if you feel like having a soft drink, and if you have a choice between 2 colas, you'll probably think of 1 cola because you probably saw an advertisement of an actor doing it. That's why you'll think of that and you'll order it. So I'm just reaching out a product to you. I'm not forcing you to buy it or drink it.